Hey, good morning everyone, how's it going? So I'm back onto that Jeep. I made a short video in regards to spark plugs and gapping them and how you should not gap a new spark plug. If the gap is wrong, return the plug. They should come pre-gapped. Spark plugs like this, that are platinum, double platinum, iridium, stuff like that, if you use this style gapper, you can use it to check the gap, to make sure it's where it's supposed to be. Usually what I'll do is I'll check one, eyeball it, see what it looks like, and then eyeball all the other ones. And this way I know they're pretty darn close. If you take this type of a gapper and you put it in there and actually decide, oh wait, the gap's too small, and open it up, you can ruin the spark plugs. I've seen misfires caused by that. You think it's something simple, but it actually can ruin the spark plug. If you read up from the manufacturer, they tell you not to do that. So just something to keep in mind. So I got the new plugs, and one thing I did too on this, if you look really close, you'll see I put some anti-seize on there. It's just a light touch. I didn't it's not like I'm making fried chicken, I had to slather it in there. Just a little light touch. I've gotten comments in the past, oh, you don't need to do that. You know, the spark plugs come with a coating on them already. I don't care. I don't care. I've had too many issues where spark plugs have broken in cylinder heads or been absolutely seized in place and destroyed the threads coming out. I've had it happen way too many times. Ever since then, and it happened to my own cars. Years ago, happened on my own cars. Ever since then, I try to get a broken one of these things out of out of a Chrysler 360 motor, 5.9 liter. Not fun. But anyway, ever since then I've been doing this. I've never had a problem ever since. But I've seen it, and I've done it, and I've had to fix cylinder heads that have had it happen. So I do it. If you don't want to do it, that's fine. It's up to you. That's your call, not mine. So here we are, back to the motor. The sun glare is terrible this morning. So basically it's just going to be reverse procedure to install. I'm not going to show you installing every single spark plug or whatever. I'll show you one towards the end because hopefully the sun will be up a little bit higher by the time I get over to this side. But, you know, basically what you saw me do with this shorty extension and that in the back, it's exactly how I'm going to install them. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to also show you the right way to crush that, focus, hello. See, it's got that crush washer right there. I'm going to show you the right way to tighten these things up because I've seen people over tighten the daylights out of them, and I've seen people not tighten them enough. So I'm going to show you the right way to do it. All right, let's get this going. I'm going to actually show you with this one. So the plug is down there. As you can see, I'm screwing this in by hand. So now it just came to a stop. Okay. So now let's put the ratchet on there. So now the ratchet, as I'm going with the ratchet, I could feel there's some resistance behind it. That's the washer crushing. And then all of a sudden, right there, it comes to a stop. I could go tighter if I wanted to. You don't have to. That's perfect. That's as tight as you want to go. You want to go to the end of the washer crush and then stop. I've seen people go to the end of the washer crush and then go like another quarter turn. Not necessary. Absolutely not necessary. Especially for those of you that don't have a torque wrench. That's a pretty good gauge. So let me get the rest of these in. And if I can make one suggestion here too, when you're putting the coils on, you got these little nuts that have to go in place to hold the coils down. Like that, see that? Okay. My suggestion is, if you have all the coils out and you have all the plugs out, put all the plugs in before you put the coils in. Meaning, have them all in, don't just put the last one in the back and then put the coil on and then have all the other spark plugs out. The reason being is that little nut, I've had to save a few people in the past where they've gone to put the little nut onto number 8, and then on number 6 the spark plug was out and they dropped it and it fell down the hole. So just something to think about. So yeah, let me just get the rest of this together. And there you go, everything's all back together. It's pretty simple. There's a 10 there, and there's a 10 under there. You can just see it behind the coil. Then you got those hose clamps there, a hose clamp there. Here, there, clamp, there, clamp, everywhere, clamp, clamp. So, let me put my tools away. Let me go grab my scanner. Then let's start this up and take it for a road test and see how she goes. So I'm back inside. I got the scanner hooked up. Let's get into this. Let's see if this thing has any misfires. It may in the very beginning. It may take a second or two to clear out. Depends if there's any like buildup of junk in there. I've seen that happen. Now, one thing, when you have spark plugs that are that worn out, I have seen this before. What happens is you can actually destroy the computer in the car. I've seen it on a couple of different types of vehicles. Most notably was a Ford Escape, where a guy went like 200,000 miles on the spark plugs and they were just completely wiped out. And then the coil has to try to make up that gap, jump that gap. And what happened was it wound up killing a couple of the drivers in the PCM. So instead of putting a set of spark plugs in it, which would have been a cheap, easy repair, the guy went 200,000 miles, and the computer was expensive for that thing at the time. I want to say by the time all was said and done, the bill was close to $2,000 because it was like a grand something for just the computer, and then the programming, then the labor to diagnose it, to put 4 spark plugs in it. We wound up putting 4 coils in it. It was ridiculous how the snowball went down the hill. But he needed his car, so he had to pay to fix it. So he, instead of spending $300-400 on a set of spark plugs, over a period of time, anyway. So thought I'd tell you about that one. So here we go. I'm actually gonna let me go to system selection, PCM. Go to system test, right? Okay. Didn't like the fact that it wasn't running. Okay, I don't see any misfires. Let me do this. Let me clear the codes out of this thing, because I want to see if that knock sensor codes come back. Okay, I don't care about that. I want it goes back out. Chrysler, you got to turn them off and turn the key to the run positions. Some Fords and almost all GMs, you can clear it while they're running. Chrysler doesn't like that. Are you sure you want to clear? Yes. Alright, so now we don't have a check engine light back on. I go 241,000 miles, in case I didn't show you that yesterday. Alright, I'm going to take it on a road test. And when I get to the church there, we're going to look at misfires again. Now, just so you can see, driving up the road, there are no misfires. Alright, so we're up at the church here, and as you see, I have no misfires. So I'm good with that. I don't have a check engine light or anything. Actually, let me go back just to see if there's any pending codes or anything like that. Okay. Read fall codes, DTC information. No DTCs. Okay. Nothing. So there shouldn't be any freeze frame, or is there? Let's see. No freeze frame data. No freeze frame data. Okay. Chrysler used to have a thing called one trip. Special function. Yeah. Just want to make sure. One trip was pretty good because it would tell you if something was askew for that one trip. Makes sense, right? Whatever. All right. So it runs as I expected. These things, my truck's the same way. They don't have the smoothest idle in the world, but this thing runs as expected. It runs fine on the road. At idle, they have a tendency to be a little like, whoop, whoop, but that's every single one of these I've ever driven is like that. So I'm going to leave this video at that. So hopefully you're getting something out of my videos. If you are, hit that like button. Please subscribe. All right, guys, have a great day. Keep wrenching.